and good evening. Welcome back to space, fellow adventurers in space and time. It's good to be back. It's Thursday. I've been streaming for a week because of stuff and life and everything that's been going on. So yeah, it's good to be here once more, continuing our ongoing voyages in the amazing Starship Simulator by Dan Gouvier, which I hope I'm pronouncing correctly, and his lovely wife Claire as well. So thank you very much to them for providing us with the thing that we're looking at. And we'll proceed onwards into the heart of the nebula and see what may be found. But before we do any of that, because of course we must do the thing, and the thing is the thing, and the thing must be done. And I know some of you have just been saying something just for the privilege of of getting your name mentioned for reasons which I can't even remember why we even started this in the first place. But it's a thing now, and the thing is the thing. The thing must be done. So there we go. Let's do it anyway because, well, why not, right? It's all fun. It's all fun. It's got to be done. It's got to be done. Right. Dr. Quest MD is first in the chat. Good to see you, Dr. Quest MD. Thank you very much for that. Have a Boo Boo is here as well. The Arakises are here, fighting off the invasions of the Harkonnens. Followed swiftly by the Harkonnens, ready to invade Arrakis. The battle that has been going on for, well, quite some time actually. Without much movement in either direction, it would seem. But anyway, they're still here. They're still arguing the toss between the Arakises and the Harkonnens. My on talk. I mean, I invented that entirely. I happen to know these two people are entirely comfortable with each other, but it sounds more fun, doesn't it? Myon Toxin is here. Gij is here. Minotaur is here. Tuba208 is here. Zoe just chilling because that's what Zoe does. She just chills. She's very cool. Is Zoe? She literally just chills. She's a very, very relaxed and chilled person. Lovely to see you again, Zoe. And Electron Ghost is here. Tuba28. I think I already said that. Well, he's commented 3 times, so it's obviously something that needs to be done. Andy P783 is here as well. First time chat from Voyager NL. Now Voyager NL and I go back a long way. I think it's fair to say, probably back into the ancient mists of time. So good to see you, Voyager NL. Commander Tragic Blue 21 is here as well. Orkney Sean, hello Orkney Sean from far up in the nebulous mists of the north. The land of yore and beyond the shadowy mountains of stuff. Yeah. If you go north and then you go north a bit more and then go north from there, then you'll still be south of where Sean is. That's how far north he is. Glenn is here as well. Good to see you, Glenn. Julia is here. Hello, Julia. Good because you as well. Whilst we're not playing No Man's Sky at the moment, we will go back to No Man's Sky, of course, but we've been distracted. It's a squirrel moment that's lasted 3 weeks, for which I make no apologies for, because we're all space game enthusiasts on this stream. And that's what we do. So good to see you, Voyager and L. Good to see you, Julia. And Dan is here as well. Hello, Dan. Good to see you. And now we want to talk to you, obviously, Dan, about your amazing game and stuff as we're playing through it. But there's more to come, because I saw an exciting tweet from you this afternoon. Or maybe it was in the Discord. I can't remember, because my memory is... well, I see I've got this problem with my short-term memory, you see. Which would be fine, other than the problem with my short-term memory, which everyone on this stream is very much aware of. The problem with my short-term memory. Have I told you about my short-term memory problem? Anyway, we'll talk a little bit more about it, because there's interesting stuff. Blue Ganymede is here as well. Wolf99 is here. The Funny Asteroid is here. Yay! Because it's never a good space game without a funny asteroid. Eridan Dundragon is here as well. Dad is here. Well, you're trying to get a new build ready for night, but I ended up going down the planetary rings rabbit hole. Right. Okay, planetary rings. Oh, I hadn't thought about that. That's a good question. So Arrakis is here. Nearly 30 years. Is that how long you've been waiting for me to get the stream started? Or is that how long the relationship with the Harkonnens has been going on? PSB is here as well. V Margulis is here as well. Commander Lenslove. Everybody's here. This is good. Right. Okay. Let's with no further ado, because as I usually do say, that's plenty of ado. We've had enough of that. Let's get this thing started. No, it's in Steam, isn't it? I've got to find the right button. Too many games, too little time. Right, is that doing the thing? Now, I thought, whilst we're... Where's the... Now I've lost you guys. Too many monitors. Not enough time. Game view, that's not what I want. Looking for a game to capture. Yay, there it is. Right, okay. I was wondering, because, I mean, obviously we've got to explore the nebula. I'm just going to turn down the... I've got my earphones back, and this amazing music is now playing very epically in my ears. I can't hear anything. There are rabbits in rings. Yeah, so that's interesting. It's not what I was expecting. Ferrets, maybe ferrets in the rings. One day the thing is going to take longer than the trip to Sagae. Yes, well, it's a long way. There's a song about that, isn't it? It's a long way to Sagae. We should maybe do that one day. Right. Oh, magnetized ferrets. Yeah, but like dangerous stuff. Now, is it worth? I was curious actually. I noticed this the other week, and I think somebody in the chat pointed it out. I can't remember who it was. It's the sort of thing that Wintermute GB, who actually isn't here. Where's Wintermute GB? He's normally around. Wintermute GB would have pointed out because he's famous at pointing things out that I miss. There are some training modules here, so I'm curious as to what those are in Starship Simulator. So is it? I mean, we've got a bit of time obviously in the stream to explore the nebula, because last week it took us half an hour to get to the nebula, but we're in the nebula now. So I'm curious as to what these training modules are. Are these live things, Dan, that teach us about stuff? I'm hoping you'll go, yes, it's brilliant. Yeah, definitely do that. Scanning and nav is fully played. Okay, right. Okay, so let's have a look at these then, because exploring the kind of everything that the game provides. We will continue the mission to explore in due course, but let's have a look at what the training experience is like, because starting out on these games is a big part of it. I'm curious also, there's multiplayer, which I'm assuming isn't... Okay, so it's voice acted after a fashion because I used an AI voice. Oh, okay, quite cool. Oh, AI! Now there's a topic of conversation that we might get into. Does the multiplayer do anything at the moment? Join game, host game, net mode, Steam, LAN. Oh, LAN! Wow. Join game, no games. So I can host one. Multiplayer is working fine with a small workaround, but it will be working fully after the next build. Okay, so well, we're going to have to try that. So, what I might do. Does that work across, well, I'm assuming it's Steam, because LAN is local area network, right? So, unless everybody's in my house, which would be slightly alarming. In multiplayer, everything works the same. You just have more people available to press buttons. Okay, well, we've got to try that at some stage. Now, before we get into that, though, it's probably worth, Dan, you mentioning a little bit about... Because I don't know whether it was a tweet from Claire or whether it was something I was reading in the Discord this afternoon, that you're going for funding stroke Kickstarter. Is that a thing? And what I suppose, what's the intention? Is it to raise more money to do more development, or is it to bring in a team? What's it all about? In terms of where you see this going and kind of when. What's the plan? I suppose that's the interesting bit. So I'll move on with the training module, and then you type up whatever you want to type up, and we'll discuss it as we go. That'd be really cool. Is this version available to only limited beta testers? I think I'm right in saying that this is a limited only version to people with a special key, but there is a new demo version coming, which I'm hoping Dan will be able to type a whole bunch of stuff into the chat that he can clarify. So we'll leave him with that as his mission, as his away mission. Okay, so only to people with black hats and hat pins. Exactly right. I do behind your sofa. Didn't I check? I never look behind the sofa. That's where the cat lives. Right. So Dan, hang on. So here we go. So Dan says we're entering Steam Next Fest next month. So okay, that's the thing, which I don't know what it is, but presumably that's some sort of new and upcoming games celebration thing. Okay, with the demo I'm working on right now, and then we'll leave that live for Kickstarter the following month. The plan with Kickstarter is to generate enough funding to expand the team. Ooh, okay, more devs equals more game. Okay, cool. Okay, so I mean, that would. I'm quite keen to help you out with the Kickstarter, just in terms of streaming coverage and stuff. So if you want to, want to use that, then let me know, because that's quite cool. Because the thing with Kickstarter, of course, is getting enough groundswell and activity and stuff. So anything we can help you out on there would be good, because certainly the people I've spoken to through Twitter and stuff recently have come in partly on this stream and partly through the YouTube videos and stuff, and basically said, this is brilliant, we need more of this. Make sure it happens. So yes, quite a lot of excitement, so that's really good. Right now you're the only dev, so I really need more people to flesh out multiple systems at once. Okay, fantastic. So Voyager NL, we've covered. This is a very good question. We have covered this one before. So Dan actually knows an awful lot about this IP infringement malarkey, because he was the dev, I think I'm right in saying, on the Orville fan experience. Is that right? Yes. So ground has been trod carefully. You can't apparently copyright a circular ship. Neither can you copyright or IP the phrase Starship, because it's too generic. You can't copyright a flying saucer. So as long as we don't go, I think, down into saucers with nacelles, I think Dan's kind of in the clear. That's my understanding of it anyway, in terms of sort of general thing. So that's quite good. You'll need Drew to write an epic novella to go with the game. Wow, I'm up for anything like that. So if you want some support on that kind of stuff, that would be very cool too. So flying saucers predate Star Trek quite a bit. In fact, I believe that the Star Trek design of the original Enterprise was chosen so that it kind of did look like a flying saucer, but with extra bits stuck on to kind of make it look a little bit more modern and funky. But it was basically the reason there was a flying, the Enterprise's primary hull is a dish, is a saucer, is to kind of make it look like a classic 1960s, 50s, 40s spaceship, to make people go, oh yeah, well, it's a spaceship, clearly, because it's a flying saucer. So I think that's true. I'm not I might be making it up, but I think that's true. And the Federation of Planets logo at the start actually is based off the United Nations logo, not the Starfleet one. Now, whether the Starfleet one was based off the United Nations logo, I have no idea. But the source material isn't Star Trek; it's the United Nations. I think I've got all that right. So Dan, if that's not correct, then tell me. And Blue Ganymede, I think you're also right as well there, that the original art for Star Trek had the ship the other way up, and I don't know whether they decided it looked better with the nacelles on top rather than on the bottom. But there we go. Right, okay, so there we go. So Dan's given us a whole bunch here to answer that particular question. I was a dev on the Stage 9 Enterprise D Recreation, which got a C and D by CBS. Okay, cease and desist, that is. And then I worked with Fuzzy Door to create the Orville in a semi-official capacity. Obviously, there's a lot of inspiration from Czech, which is fine, because you can be inspired by stuff. But if you look further than face value, there's nothing in the game that's directly taken from Trek. Beyond the fact that the ship is round, there's nothing else that's similar. All the tech in the game is real tech, and yes, the game's organisation is the real world United Nations in 200 years' time. Okay, so there we are. So there we go. That's you can fly close to the sun, but as long as you keep your shields up, you'll be fine. There we go. Right, so on that note, let's launch the training module, Bridge and Scanning Navigation. So let's see what it says. Loading Magellan Class. Okay. So I mean, exactly the questions I had actually, Voyager NL, but the answers are already prepped, which is good, because you'd expect those answers to be prepped. Right, okay, so we're back in the ship.
Welcome to the Magellan Class Scanning and Navigation Training Module. My name is Ava. I'm the UN Space Fleet's AI voice assistant. In this module, we will review the correct procedure for identifying targets of interest, and then navigating the ship to the desired location. To begin, proceed to the ship's bridge. I have placed a target indicator on your HUD to help you find your way.
Okay, so head to the indicated location. So where's the target indicator? I know where the bridge is because I've used it, but okay, and that's an AI voice. That's not bad at all, actually. That's pretty good. Steve's Gaming, have you seen Spaceborne 2? Believe it or not, today I bought it, Steve's Gaming, with the intention of taking a look at it in an upcoming stream. So stay tuned for that. Yes, I will be having a look at that. Why do AI voices speak with American accents? Well, not all of them do. There are some that don't. That's actually something for Dan to think about, actually, because this, as I've shown before, because I think we can choose. Let me step into the light a bit. The good thing about this particular starship is it's a British starship. Look, can you see the little patch on the girl's the woman's shoulder? Huzzah! This is a British starship. Okay, there's tea and there's space beers and things like that. All the important stuff is. I haven't seen a kettle or a tea service, but I'm pretty sure that there's one somewhere around. Okay, so this is a British starship. Well, at least this lady is wearing a British tag on a uniform. I mean, I suppose it's a UN starship, so shouldn't there be a UN logo instead of the British flag? Glenn, shush! We don't need you Americans coming in here and spoiling everything with your facts and your reasonable things. It's a British spaceship, okay? I might rename it and call it the HMS something, so just to annoy you guys. If it was British, there'd be a queue. Yeah, they probably would. Right, so let's go back into first person. And let's go to the bridge. Okay. Oh no, there we go. Look, there is a HUD bridge. Okay. So that's interesting. So from a perspective of our character, that's just an overlay. Okay. So I've got the head bob mode on. That was one of the best features Dan has put in the game already. Is that you can switch the head bob off. It's a multinational crew. Well, good for that. Yeah, okay. If you change nationality on the if you change the nationality on the character customization, the flag changes on the uniform. Now, all right. So character customization is I can see ship customization. Where was character customization? F5. Oh, okay. I've forgotten that. I must have gone through this at some point. Oh, okay, look, so rank. Well, ensign then. Head, none. Oh, so I can put a jacket on. Oh, okay, quite cool. So where? Oh, country, United Kingdom. There we go. Excellent. So can I rotate her around so I can see her? Not from there. Okay, so the default, the default is United Kingdom. Hurrah! But we can choose all sorts of other. Yeah, we can even choose the United States at a push. But we've got the Ukraine, Switzerland, Sweden. Oh, this is quite good. So, okay, so these are all the countries represented by the United Nations. Cool, because the United Nations is in space. Make it a Ukrainian ship. Oh, good man. Let's be Ukrainian for the day. Let's do that. So now, does that mean I've got the Ukrainian flag? Oh, look at that! Oh, awesome. No Russian option. Now. Getting into politics today, he says, having made it a Ukrainian ship. Right, let's go to the bridge. Okay, so we are back in the...
Now make your way over to the sensors console and take a seat. This bridge station is responsible for scanning local space and highlighting targets of interest for the command staff.
Okay. So take a seat.
Before we perform any scans, let's take a look at the different sensor modes available to us. The Galactic Position mode makes use of the standard UN Galactic Positioning System, and simply shows us our location relative to the Milky Way galaxy. The Stellar Region mode employs the long-range sensors to detect information about star systems within a 50 light-year radius of the ship. The Star System mode uses the short-range sensors to provide a more detailed overview of the star system we are currently in, with a maximum range of about 1 light-year. Go ahead and press that button now. The range controls allow you to fine-tune the display range of the sensors, which makes it easier to focus on particular objects of interest, or to gain a high-level overview of the current star system. The central panel lists all of the valid objects in range, which you can click on to select as a target. Go ahead and click a few different targets now.
Okay, that's not a bad voice, actually, is it? Scotland separate, please, Dan, says Orkney Sean. Actually, I'm up for that. Let's have a Scottish ship. Aye, let's have a Scottish ship. The uniform countries are actually all the countries we have backers from. Okay, and in time will be all countries with flags. Okay, that's quite good. Little Graham didn't get to notice we're going liver. No, sorry, Little Graham. It's steak and chips. That's what it is. I don't know where. I'm sorry about the liver notification. It's not true. We're not going liver at all. It's fine. Right. So Earth, obviously.
You'll notice that the target information panel displays more detailed information about your selected target.
Okay,
Once
so this is telling us stuff that we've kind of already surmised in the previous stream, but it's quite nice.
Coordinates available to the helm console for navigation.
Okay, yeah, okay, so that's that one.
Now head over to the helm console and take a seat. From here we will navigate the ship to your chosen target. Let's begin by taking a quick look at the various screens available to the helm.
So this would be really useful to know at the beginning of
display is dedicated to navigation and shows both the ship's current galactic position, along with its target destination coordinates. The central display deals with the flight controls themselves, including the FTL system, sublight engines, and reaction control thrusters.
Oh, that's what that was.
The right-hand screen
RCS,
features
right.
the autopilot controls, toggles for the 3D target indicators, and the ship's navigation lights. Okay.
We talked about external
the target
lighting.
Information from the sensors by pressing the Use Sensor Target button on the navigation
It's quite
panel.
elegant, this. I like it.
Your target coordinates should now be displayed in this box, which represents your current nav target. The galactic coordinates represent the target's position in the galaxy to the nearest whole light year. The coordinates are relative to the center of our galaxy, the supermassive black hole known as Sagittarius A star.
Okay, so
the local coordinates represent the target's position within a star system. The coordinates are relative to the system's center of gravity, which is usually a star, or the barycenter in multi-star systems. While it is possible to fly the ship manually to any location in the galaxy, let's engage the autopilot for now so I can take care of that for you. Go ahead and press the highlighted button on the right-hand screen.
Let me take care of that for you. Okay, this is entrust our entire safety to the AI. Yep. I've read a few stories about that. Not always good. But anyway, I'm sure it'll be good today. Right, engage.
The ship will now automatically turn to face the current nav target, but you will need to manually engage the FTL system in order for us to get underway.
I'd set it to Earth, hadn't I? So it's actually not going to go anywhere.
You can now engage the FTL system when you are ready. While the autopilot is engaged, I will manage the ship's speed and final approach to the target coordinates, so just sit back and enjoy the ride.
I think we've already arrived,
The
actually.
FTL system works by compressing space ahead of the ship, and then expanding it behind, creating a bubble of warp space with the ship at its center.
Nice.
The compressed space amplifies the ship's current velocity by a factor of the FTL field strength, so the ship's sublight engines are still used to provide the required thrust. The maximum speed of the ship is therefore a combination of the FTL field strength and the thrust output of the sublight engines. For the Magellan Class, this is approximately 300 light-years per hour. Okay, it looks like we have arrived at the target coordinates.
This is because Drew set it
Now
to
that
the
we've
same
seen
place
what
we
the
already
ship
were.
can do over a relatively short distance, let's pick a target that's much further away. Head on over to the sensors console again, and take a seat.
Let's go and do another one.
This time we're going to use the long-range sensors. Go ahead and press the Stellar Region button to view our local stellar neighborhood.
Where should we go?
As before, you can use the display range buttons to increase or reduce the number of displayed objects, depending on your needs. If you click between a few of the objects in range, you'll notice that none of them have any detailed information yet. This is because a sensor scan is required. Let's take a closer look at our nearest stellar neighbor. Click on Alpha Centauri, and then click the Scan Target button.
Okay.
You'll notice that the Target Information panel now gives us a high-level overview of the targeted system, including important data points such as the extent of the habitable zone. This information can be used to determine if a star system is worth closer inspection. For example, if a planet exists in the habitable zone, you'll need to use the short-range sensors from within the system itself to determine if that planet can truly support life.
Okay, well that's quite nice. So
Select
you've got
one
to
of
do
the
multiple
planets
levels
in
of
the
scanning,
system
and you've got
that
to
you'd
go
like
there.
to take a closer look at, and then press Send to Helm as we did before.
Okay, so there's a terrestrial planet there. Now there's a G-type star similar to the Sun, so a planet that is about 1 AU away from the star, therefore, should potentially be habitable. Sorry, first time Little Graham snooks with that, Drew. The telling time will be when the I pronounces aluminium. First time chat from the Assailer. Apologies for missing that first time chat. Assailer there. Is this anything like Rogue System? I don't know. What's Rogue System? I'm confused. So I can't answer that question. But does anybody know Rogue System? Manual control at more than light speed is equal to flying speed. Further than Earth. Right, so when this goes live, I'm going to live in the city. I know, this is such a... I like that. That's a really good design thing, actually, Dan, that we can get information about the overall perspective of the system. There are some planets there, for example, but we can't get any more detailed information until we get a bit closer. I like that, because that's like, this is, okay, so we're looking at that saying G-class star, like the Sun. Terrestrial planets at half an AU, might be a bit hot. Terrestrial planet at 0.9 AU, intriguing. A terrestrial planet at 1.6 AU, kind of a bit like Mars, maybe might just about be in the habitable zone, might be not. So let's go for the middle one, because that one has a good chance of being a nice planet. Okay, I would guess. So let's send
now
that to the helm.
Now return to the helm console and take a seat once again. Press the Use Sensor Target button again on the navigation panel to set our new nav target.
Okay, so it's 4.5
Now engage
light
the
years away.
autopilot again to
Nearest
orient the
star.
ship to the new target coordinates.
There it goes.
And now engage the FTL system so we can get underway.
Boom.
Our previous journey was merely interplanetary, but we're now leaving the Sol system behind and entering interstellar space. The Milky Way galaxy is a vast and mysterious place, where even light takes over 4 years to reach our nearest stellar neighbor. Thanks to recent breakthroughs in FTL technology, however, we can now make that same journey in around 1 minute. Even so, at our maximum speed of 300 light-years per hour, it will still take over 2 full weeks to fly from one side of the galaxy to the other. That's a distance in excess of 100,000 light-years. Our galaxy contains hundreds of billions of star systems that are waiting to be explored, in addition to countless other stellar phenomena that we don't even have names for yet. This ship and her crew are tasked with exploring distant new worlds, seeking out new life in all of its diversity, and making peaceful first contact with any intelligent species that are encountered along the way. The galaxy can also be a dangerous and unforgiving place, so as we tread cautiously into the unknown, we should remain mindful of any potential dangers lurking in the dark. We're not far from our destination now, so sit back and enjoy the view while I handle the final approach.
Okay, so I've got lots of questions now about the lore, the background to this. So the Magellan Class is clearly a pretty advanced starship. Okay, so it doesn't look prototypey to me. It looks like it's been very nicely put together. Is it the first of its class? Is it, and it sounds like we've only recently invented FTL tech, relatively recently. So all sorts of questions about, well, how long have any ships gone out in advance of this one, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, what's the timeline? What are the events? What's happened? Okay, so we've got a planet ahead of us. Looks like it's got an atmosphere, but it looks icy.
Here we are. You are now looking at an entirely new world, bathed in the light of another star.
Wow.
At this distance, our home is now just another point of light in the darkness of space. Does life exist here? What new things can we discover on this world? These are the questions that this ship was designed to answer. This concludes the scanning and navigation training module. You are free to continue exploring if you wish, but please be aware that your progress will not be saved. Thank you, and goodbye.
Okay, so that's the training mission. So that's nicely done, actually, Dan. I like that. That's, you know, it gives you a feel for how to navigate a ship, and as you presumably flesh that out for all the other subcomponents of the ship, that will become quite nice, I think, because there's a lot to learn. I mean, we kind of intuited it with a bit of help from yourself, obviously, by just generally jabbing buttons and seeing what happened, which is probably not the best way to fly a really, really, really powerful warp-powered starship, but it worked. So does it? Let's just, before we jump back into our save, does it tell us anything more about this planet? It just says terrestrial planet at this stage, so we can't do any more about that particular one at this stage. To find it. Okay, so Dan says, take the galaxy from Elite. Yay! The best bit. The ship interiors from Star Citizen. Yay! The best bit. The real-time galaxy from Space Engine. Yay! The best bit. And a bunch of procedural stuff from No Man's Sky. Yay! The best bit. That's what sort of game it is. You can see why we're so damned excited about this. With a whole ship to play on. So first off, hello Claire, good to see you, Claire. Thank you for popping in, and for all the stuff you've been doing in terms of, you know, social media and welcoming people, connecting people up. So it's much due to Claire's input that we're here doing this, actually. So that's good news. The only word fit to describe this is epic. Exactly that. Now, okay, so that was the training module, and there we have what looks like an icebound world. So I suppose a question for Dan here is, how have you done? Are the planet's surfaces procedurally generated? Because that looks, it looks really nice, actually. It looks like an icy kind of. It's highly detailed as well. You can sort of see what look like frozen rivers and all sorts of things up there. You just want to get down there and do some scanning and do some science. You know, other worlds procedurally, the terrain is all procedural but with textures, and it's not 3D yet. Okay, so it looks best kind of from orbit, if that makes sense. The idea is that you'll see the crew roster when joining a game. Well, hang on, I've just missing some bits. Dan says warp is purely sublight prior. Okay, so this is a bit of lore. Okay, warp is purely sublight prior to a few years before the Magellan Class was designed. With FTL become a reality, the UN Science Advisory Board commissioned mankind's first ever deep space exploration vessel, which is this ship. So she's the first and only vessel in her class to test the viability of such a mission in the real world. Okay, so we were using, and this is Alcubierre warp technology, so not Star Trek warp. Although Star Trek warp may be based on the Alcubierre, and I'm assuming I'm pronouncing that right. I don't know. Alcubierre, is that right? Or Alcubierre? Anyway, that one. A real warp technology that's actually being explored, theoretically, obviously, at the moment, in the now, and as the AI said, it compresses space in front of the ship and stretches it out behind. So you sort of you kind of get rubber banded along. And that warp effect was sublight only for a few years prior to now, and then this ship is the first time they've built it to such a scale that it's capable of doing light years in a bound, as it were, at maximum powers. Okay, so this is a state-of-the-art starship, basically ready to go out to go out and have a look at the galaxy. Okay, so Alcubierre E. Okay, so Dan Govier says the Distant Horizons mission, which you are on, is launched in 2261. Okay, so that's the lore. Now, what I would like, Dan, just says adding another feature. Let's continue our mission, by the way, because we were deep in the heart of a nebula. So wouldn't it be nice? I mean, there needs to obviously be a shipboard computer, or maybe accessible, by these tablets potentially at some point, where I can read the lore. Because I can just pick up the tablet and go, okay, significant events in UNSF history, or maybe the touchscreen here or something. Yeah, that would be ideal. All the lore accessible inside the game that you might want to do. That would be really, really cool. Yeah, no pressure. So 2261 is 300 years after the first human space flights. Okay, so which is obviously oh god, Yuri Gagarin. Is that right? 26? Is that 1961? I could just throw it at the floor like I usually do. Yeah. So this is another thing for some of you who haven't seen this game before. The environment is physicalized, so you can pick things up. It doesn't work perfectly at the moment, as you can see. I've just busted the tablet, but you can move things about. And most importantly, there are cups of tea. Well, I'm imagining there are cups of tea about. Okay, which you can pick up and do things with. Now the physics isn't quite right yet, but you know, the environment, you can interact with it. Okay, if you look at the arm patch on the uniform, that's the mission patch. Okay, so there, right? Okay, I can't stop her from turning around, so you can kind of see it there. Okay, so that's the mission patch, which is like the NASA mission patches, isn't it? Which is quite nice. Awesome. Oh, press C again. Oh, okay, there we go. Yeah, okay, so distant horizons. Okay, there we are, 2261. So that's the year that we're in. And I can't remember who made this quote, but there is a quote basically saying that, I mean, it's supposed to be us, you know, as the people who are alive today. You know, we were born way too late to explore the Earth because everything's been explored. There were pretty much really no one explored areas on the Earth, certainly none that are easy to get to anyway. And we're born way too early to go exploring the galaxy because we don't have the technology to do so yet. So yeah, we're sort of stuck in the middle of two great exploration adventures which we can't partake in. So doing it via computer is the only option we have, which is why this game is so exciting, because everything about this is totally almost familiar. You know what I mean? It's, you know, we understand faster than light travel, and while we don't have the tech to do it, we can kind of get our heads around it. We know how big the galaxy is in kind of appreciation. We have enough understanding to go, okay, well, we know the galaxy is 100,000 light years side to side. It's about 20,000 light years from top to bottom. You know, it contains 400 billion stars, whatever it happens to be. You know, going out and exploring that is a concept that we can get our heads around, but it's not one that we can actually do. But we have the capability today to make games like this that allow us to go off and have those possibilities. And where it was, you know, in the last 20, 30, 40 years, it was only TV shows and movies that allowed us to do it. Now games have got to the point where they can entertain us in this sort of fashion. I mean, it's just insane. Okay, so we could have the UN General Secretary send us off with a speech. Well, I think there should definitely be speeches. Now, there's also AI. So, of course, you know, in 200 years of you know, human history, then obviously the AIs have got more sophisticated. So it'd be interesting to know what the computers on this ship are able to do. You know, clearly there's a lot of automation, which is a good thing. So yeah, all sorts of questions about how humanity has evolved. Now, clearly we've done all right because, you know, we've been able to build this ship. So in 200 years, clearly we've sorted out a lot of stuff. You know, what's happened to the Earth? You know, is it just the United Nations? You know, is there, you know, what's happened to the Earth? You know, all sorts of interesting questions about what society is like at this point in time, so, which we don't need to answer here. But yeah, it's just curious. What's the background? Once you look at the actual construction of the ship, you'll realise it's really not very high tech at all. Okay, so aside from the FTL and artificial gravity, of course, which is a kind of a given, so we do have artificial gravity, which is obviously necessary for a ship of this design to work. Everything else is just fusion power, titanium framework, faux plastic wall panels, and LED lights. So the actual construction of the ship is, you know, transparent panels, a ship hull. Okay, that kind of makes sense. Bulkheads and so on and so forth. I suppose there is. Okay, so I suppose the other question then. I don't know enough about Alcubierre physics to know, because presumably from the frame of reference of the ship is not moving very much. So is that why inertia isn't a problem? Although I suppose if you've got artificial gravity sussed, then inertia probably isn't an issue anyway. I don't quite know enough about the physics, because I mean the key thing with anything travelling close to the speed of light, if it accelerates fast, right? If you don't have a way of managing the inertia, or you're operating at a slightly different frame of reference, then you'll just be a very, very thin splat on the wall at the back, right? The moment you switch the engines on, right? So that problem has clearly been fixed by the designers of the Magellan Class spaceship. But I'm just curious as to how it does it. The artificial gravity can be angled to offset inertia up to a point. Okay, but really that only applies to sublight. At FTL, the ship is relatively stable. Okay, so basically the ship is stationary inside its warp bubble, so there is no inertia effectively. I suppose the question comes then, if something happens to the ship that, well, I mean, let's assume it gets hit by some sort of strange energy effect from outside. Then obviously, there's the possibility of the ship getting damaged in those sort of scenarios. So that could be quite interesting. How many tropes in sci-fi are considered public domain and not specific to a show, book, or movie? Well, I mean, hyperspace, warp, artificial gravity has been around since, well, a long time before Star Trek, right? All those sort of things. Star Trek probably brought them together with a little bit of sort of scientific consistency stroke rigor, and I mean a little bit. But they certainly exist. I mean, if you look at Forbidden Planet, which predates Star Trek, there's a flying saucer with artificial gravity on it, right? And some sort of space drive that was clearly faster than light. So, you can go back. I mean, Flash Gordon had artificial gravity. They probably didn't think about it, but their spaceships did have artificial gravity. Back in the black and white days. So, I don't know how early in sci-fi tropes that sort of stuff came along, but it certainly predates Star Trek by a long way. And I think Star Trek, Julia's quite right. So I think Star Trek plopped all these sort of things in, kind of together, packaged them up, as you were. So I don't think it was too many original ideas, but having a ship that sort of worked and sort of made sense and was logically thought through. I think Star Trek is the first time you sort of see stuff mentioned like inertia dampeners, like a warp field, and the ship having a specific type of power supply, the antimatter and the dilithium crystals and things like that. There's a little bit of engineering now that's gone into Star Trek, which I don't think many shows had before that, to explain how things work. Things do, it's just a spaceship. It's a spaceship. It works, right? Whereas Star Trek went a little bit further down into the kind of, well, it works because it's got a warp drive and that's powered by an antimatter reactor which focuses energy through dilithium. I mean, it's all nonsense, right? It's good sounding nonsense. Okay, so E. Doc Smith had inertialess drives. Okay, so Arthur C. Clarke had them as well. And that's 50s and 60s as well. So it's a long time back it goes. Dave Soft, actually now that's a really good observation. Just keep accelerating upwards. Yeah, I mean that will work as well. In fact, that is the premise that I use for the ships that I have in my upcoming Higara novel. Is that actually the ships aren't orientated like we see here. The classic kind of what I call ocean liner in space type spaceship. Rather, they are more like skyscrapers, okay, that with the engines at the bottom always operating under thrust at 1G, which keeps, gives you effectively a kind of pseudo-gravity because you can't tell the difference between gravity and acceleration. So that's how I've done it. So there isn't any kind of magical anti-gravity tech. You've just got acceleration, which meant which means you've got some interesting stuff that happens when the ship isn't accelerating. And some interesting stuff when it's accelerating really, really hard. A bit like in The Expanse. So, The Expanse is that much more realistic, I suppose, in terms of physics. But this, what we've got here is the kind of, okay, we just assume anti-gravity is a thing, which is jolly convenient for the way things work. But very practical, Dave. And you could potentially, if you had a drive technology that could thrust at 1G for several hours, days, weeks, months, then that would be quite an interesting spaceship too. But it wouldn't be an interstellar spaceship. There's just no way to do it. And I think if you're going to have an FTL drive, which clearly we've got in this scenario, then it's okay to magic up a bit of other tech, which makes your life easier, like like having artificial gravity. It's fun to play around with the physics as well. Right. Anyway, so after all that, let's sit down at the helm again and go outside the ship. Let me show you where we ended up. Now we are in the midst of deep space, and one of the things Dan has said is coming is some navigation lights. Unfortunately, as you can see, our ship is entirely in the pitch darkness, with a little bit of faint light coming from this amazing black hole that we went through last week. The Skylark of Space was completed in 1920, so Doc Smith was born nearly 30 years before Clark. Okay, so Doc Smith is by far older. I think we even had, I don't know if Edgar Rice Burroughs had anything about that kind of tech in his novels. Probably not. He was not that scientific. The Martian had that then, an iron engine that's burning the whole time and then spin around halfway through the trip. Yeah, exactly, Dave Soft, and that's the technology. That's the approach I've used in my novels for interplanetary travel. It's all 1G in both directions with a little flip over in the middle. So the green and red lights are coming, I imagine, but they're not here yet. The lights fell off when I rebuilt the hull. So that's could be put back on. So the anti-gravity uses the same tech as the FTL, which kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Because you're effectively warping space in front of the ship, which would require traditionally a big chunk of mass. So compressing space-time creates gravity. Okay, so somehow in the ship there's a very condensed layer of space-time underneath the floor or something like that. Not quite sure how it works, but that's essentially what's going on. Orkney says he still feels strung out from the black hole trip. Yes, hope you enjoyed your spaghettification. That's quite good. And Julia says, as I recall, the Foundation uses gravitic drives in Asimov novels. Okay, so there's lots of prehistory. Now this nebula that you can see in the background here looks like a static backdrop, right? Looks, and the operative word here is looks, because we flew here from Sol, and we're in the midst of this nebula. Now, last week we did take a little tour over the black hole, and I think it's probably only fair we'll just take a little wander back to it, because if you missed last week's stream, you can go and watch it on YouTube. But let's just go back through the black hole, because we can, right? So I'm going to try and bank the ship around. I'm trying to remember what the keys are. Here we go. What is quite nice here is we can manually fly the ship. There we go. I'm going to take us close to the event horizon. There we go. Now, what was it? Z, I think. Right, that switches the FTL on, and then I think it's the WS keys allows us to move. Oh, in fact, it's moving. It's moving anyway, but not very fast. Okay. So we're moving at a relatively slow speed. We can, several kilometers a second, but it's quite slow. And you can see, look, the accretion disk rotating, which is okay. So the minimum speed is 30 kilometers a second at 0% throttle. Okay, so this is sort of what we're doing here. It's not a very big black hole, this one. Well, I say that. I mean, it could be several stellar masses, but it's not very big dimensionally. So we can throttle up a little bit. There we go. And the ship will chase along. And if I bank the ship round, there we go. Okay, so we're travelling at a relatively slow rate. Now we are heading towards the accretion disk. And what's nice about this is that, you know, Dan said last week that the gravitational lensing for the backdrop isn't working at the moment, but the gravitational lensing for the actual object is, which is why we can see the back of the accretion disk at the top of the black hole, whereas it obviously kind of is at the back. But we can see behind the object because of the gravitational lensing of the object, which is exactly right. So we're just going to creep across. It's because it's just rather mystical. Now, again, according to Dan, if we tried to do this on the released version of the game, we'd probably do some very bad stuff to the ship. So going near a black hole may not be a recommended thing. So let's enjoy it while we can. Yeah, I've powered up a little bit of the drive a little bit more. It just looks majestic, doesn't it? And it sort of distorts and does weird stuff as you would expect it to. Now we should just clip the event horizon here. But you know, being able to do this, you know, go and visit a black hole and stuffs is, well, it's just insane. It is very, 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 very pretty. Death Bunny. Oh, hello, Death Bunny Girl. Good to see you. We had a brief chat on Twitter today, didn't we? So thanks for popping in. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, just yes, and it all warps and gravitational lenses around as you. Black holes are just freaky things. Just amazing, though, isn't it? It's just amazing. Yeah, so mildly terrifying. Yeah, so actually we're going to cross the plane of the black hole's accretion disk here now, I think. There we go. Which, whoa, look at that. That's weird. Yeah, just. Am I hearing some faint sound in the background? TV. It could be my kids or my wife in a nearby room. It's probably that, Dan. So, Glenn. So apologies for that. So yeah. So that's that. Okay. It is. Okay. So Dan says, just as a point of trivia, the FTL harbour is going to be located adjacent to the 4 cutouts around the edge of the saucer, and they will crackle and glow like the hover ships in the Matrix. Oh, nice. Okay, so we can't really see that at the moment because the ship's in total darkness. We'll have to go near a star to see that. I thought my head voices, imaginary friends, were talking to me again. Those guys, yeah. Death Bunny Girl, the idea of a force of such strength that is able to bend space scares the life. I mean, it's there's so many things about space that are kind of like so weird, yet but they're real, aren't they? I mean, that's the thing I think that gets me about all this stuff. Is this is as close as we can kind of get to doing it. I'm curious because I've been following Space Engine for many years. Now, you know, it's a fantastic thing, there are sort of spaceships and things inside Space Engine which you can play around, but the flight model in Space Engine is so, you know, from my perspective, insanely complex because it's like aiming for virtually total realism. It's, you know, it's going to be quite hard to access. Now, you know, some people really like that if they like really hard simulations and stuff, but I've always found it a bit overwhelming. One of the things I liked about this so far is it's really intuitive. It's just like, you know, the coordinate system makes sense. You know, the thrust levels, speed, direction all makes sense. You know, the navigation makes sense as well. It's a nice simple. It's taken away. You know, there's complexity in there obviously, but you know, the user interface of the ship makes it very straightforward to handle the ship, which I like. And I don't mind a bit of depth to the simulation, but I don't want it. I don't want so much that it's it's almost overwhelming. Julia says, "Oh, now there's a nice little. You should turn that into a poem, Julia. Technically, everything bends space a bit. Pick a flower and you move the furthest star. How about that? That's really nice, isn't it? I'm going to move some stars. There we go. Look. Let's all move some stars together. I like that. There are spaceships, but trying to play it is not easy, especially in regards to the controls. Now, I have played around with Space Engine, and it's. I mean, I like mucking about with Space Engine for the astronomy, but flying the spaceships, I never really got. I couldn't get them to do what I wanted them to do reliably. So, okay, let's leave that black hole behind us. Now, what's nice about this nebula, as I mentioned before, it looks like it's just a static backdrop, but it's not. It's actually a fully 3D volumetric, is that right? Is that the right term? Nebula. So it's actually got structure. So if I speed up the ship, I think we'll see the black hole therefore recede behind us as I do that. So I'm gauging. There we go. Look, there's the black hole receding at a decent speed now. As we engage. Now, if you watch the nebula, I may not be going fast enough yet, but let's speed the nebula. Let's speed the ship up a bit more, and we should see. I've got no information on how fast we're travelling, so shift to go up in 10% increments. Okay, boom, boom. Let's try that. We may need to go to full speed actually, so let's just whack it up there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we go. That should be accelerating to maximum 300 light years per second. There it goes. Look, you can see the nebula now beginning to shift. Okay. Because we're travelling through it. So I'm sort of heading towards what looks to me to be the densest part of the nebula. So I'm going to do a slight handbrake turn in space here. There we go. Yeah, we can actually see, look, there you go. You can see the nebula structure moving past us. So I'm going to try I'm heading into this part of the nebula to see if we can see some. What I'd quite like to do is find a star that, if we can get to a star that's actually kind of within the nebulosity, and see what that looks like from the inside. That's am I going to ludicrous? We've got a plan. Yeah. So I think we're now travelling at full speed, which is 300 light years per second. So you can get a sense of the incredible size of these nebulas. That's 300 light years per second. Look how slowly and majestically it's just creeping past. We haven't picked. Then there's a star that's 7 light years away. We haven't picked up one ahead of us yet. So I'm hoping we might get one in that nebulosity that's in front of us. So yeah, so it's quite interesting. So cute is cat. It is pretty. Yes, it is very pretty. Good to see you. Thank you very much for joining the stream. It's glorious to watch. Let's just bank slightly to. I don't think that structure. So that's now creeping past us over there. Look at that beautiful filaments just glowing there. Now this isn't. First time chat from Flipsy Doodle. Is it the Crab Nebula? It's not the Crab Nebula. No, I think I'm right in saying, Dan, that this is just a test procedural nebula, because this obviously is a pre-alpha game at this point in time. We are picking up some stars ahead though, which is nice. So this isn't a real nebula yet. It's kind of like a test procedural nebula to kind of test out the tech. So this is a test asset. It's not even procedural at this point. Okay, so we are, I think, in the midst of that nebulosity there. There are some stars quite close to it. So I'm going to bank around. There we go. We got one down there and one up there. Let's go for that one. Let's go for the M class star. There. Right, so can I... What I'm going to do is I'm going to slow us down. I suppose I can just switch the engines off, can't I? that work? Press and hold Z. Okay, so there's the... There we go, I've switched the engine off. Now, if we go back into the ship and go to the scanners, one of the things that's really nice about this game is definitely coffee in that nebula. I was watching Voyager, actually, just the other day. That episode it's my wife's favourite line from any sci-fi show ever. Let's switch it on to Galactic Region. No, not Galactic Region. Stellar Region. There we go. Range 20 light years. No, that's too much. There we go. And what we can do here, this is the first time I think I've ever seen this in this game. This is glorious. Is that we have this 3D representation of stars around us. So there's our ship in this sort of hologrammatic representation, and we're looking at one of those, aren't we? I think let's try and tuck behind. So it must be that one. Yeah, that's the one I've. Okay, so this is presumably some sort of procedural name, 3584K. So 3485K. If I go over here, we should be able to lock onto it, shouldn't we? 3485K. Did I remember that right? 3449. Okay, 3584K. Oh, that's the temperature. Okay, so not. Okay, so it's not a procedural name. Okay. Fly closer than 10 years. Okay, this is just okay. So hang on. So 10 light years. That's the mode that we're on. It is the temperature. Yeah, I was going to say. Okay, so Kelvin. So if I want to navigate to a particular star, so the one we've got the one we've got out the forward window at the moment. That one. 3584K. If you click the stars in the list, it will highlight them on the hologram. Oh, will it? Okay. So hang on. I want this one. 3584K. But that's just the temperature. So if we. So it's that one. Let's scan the target. Okay, so it's got some planets, which is nice. And it's highlighted on the display. Okay, so that's cool. Now Dan, I think, has told us that at some point we'll be able to select things by using this holographic display, which is quite good, and also be able to search. Okay, thanks Claire, that's brilliant. Okay, so there's us there, and that's the sensor target. So we're sort of flying up the galaxy from the perspective of the ship, but of course there's no upside down in space. So okay, so the sensor target is now locked on that ship ahead. Let's go there. And use the sensor target. We'll engage maximum FTL. And you will just use the autopilot to get us there. Nope, that didn't work. Where is it going? I thought I used a sensor. Oh, I didn't send it to. No, disengage. I didn't send it to. I didn't send it. Didn't send it to the helm. Oh, got to do things the right way. Right, send to helm. Let's go to. Let's not go directly to the star. Let's go to planet 3. Send to helm. There we go. This is why I need my multi-crew, because I just need to be able to issue instructions. Right, so use sensor target. That should take us around. Okay, that's about right. Engage the FTL. Engage the autopilot. There we go. That takes us back to the nebula there, with the nebula in the background. I know this is early days, but it would be awesome if it would be off. A one-man Starship crew. Yeah, I know. Can you land on planets? Not yet. We could do quite a close pass to the planets, but we can't land on them yet. So I don't know. Is that a future ambition? I think the idea was, as I recall, not that the Starship can't land on planets, but there's potential for shuttles and things landing on planets at some point in the future. So a crew who can follow instructions. Yeah, I could do one of those as well. Okay, so we've kind of actually gone through the nebula. I thought this planet would be... This isn't quite what I wanted. What I wanted was a star system that was actually in the nebula, which we seem to have overshot. Right now, the plan for planetary landing is to be similar to Starfield, where you can take a shuttle down and there will be a brief animation of it entering the atmosphere, etc. Okay, so it's not quite seamless yet, but... okay, so there's the planet. There's the illumination of the ship, which is quite nice. And the star with the nebula at the backdrop. There's the planet. Oh, with a nice phase there as well. It brings us in, so it's just a rocky... So the planet tech is rather nice, though. And there's atmospheres there and everything. Okay, so I'm going to try again. See if we can get, because what I'd quite like is a planet, a star system in the midst of the nebula. That's what I was aiming for. Let's try that again. Okay, so Z. Maximum warp, Mr. Sulu. I like the way it speeds up. And then just... That's very nice. Then the star goes past as it accelerates. It's a lovely smooth transition. I really like that. Okay, so let's head back into the nebula. Because we're let's see if we can find some coffee. Long term, I want it to be real time. Yeah, I mean that would be amazing. But yeah, I can understand that's a complexible thing. First time chat from Mia77. They were able to land the ship that was in Voyager. Yeah, so the Voyager was able to land, but I think that's more an aesthetic choice, isn't it, Dan? For this, you know, it's not designed to land. That's why it's got shuttlecrafts. Which gives you something else to do with the dynamics of the interiors of the ship, which I think is quite good. I'm quite happy that the ship doesn't land because it gives a reason for the shuttlecraft to exist. You know, why do you need shuttlecraft if your ship can land? So having a shuttle instead, to me, makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to try and angle through the nebula a little bit. There we go. It's a tech problem too. We're moving space around the ship, which is how we're able to have such a large ship filled with physics. Okay, so it is a tech problem. So we're moving space around the ship. Okay, so the ship, from a kind of programming perspective, the ship is a static object. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Therefore, everything inside the ship is easy to control. Because if the ship was moving and everything else was therefore moving, that would get complicated really fast. No famous mutinies on the Eurydice. Well, we could always have one. Okay, so that sort of makes sense. I think we've got a bit... I'm not sure if we're going at full speed yet. Because none of those stars are moving. There we go. It's accelerating again now. So the ship is static and the shuttle stations, etc., will be static environments, so you'll access via seamless portals. Okay, so that kind of... So I understand there's programming limitations there in terms of complexity, which, you know, is kind of a given, isn't it? This nebula is majestic to travel through, though. It really is nice. Okay, so there's a star. Look, there's a star up there. That is probably a good candidate for actually kind of being in the nebula. So let's shut down the drive. There we go, and let's use that as our target because I just want to see what does it look like. This is trying to generate eye candy basically. Now, okay, back to here. Now, is there any? I can't set the target by saying that one over there yet. That would be nice that we could have a right maybe a right-click context-sensitive menu to basically say, yeah, I want to go there, that one there that we've just flown past. But at the moment, I don't think, unless you tell me otherwise, Dan, I don't think there's any way to do that. So 2325K. Did I miss a reference there? Sorry. I wasn't paying attention to the chat. So hang on, what's it called again? 2325. Let's see if I can find that. 2325. 2325. There it is. Let's scan it. Scan the target. What have we got? We have got some terrestrial planets. Very, very close. Look at those. They're all no AUs from the start, which is a bit weird. So what's going on in that system? They all seem to be at the same place, or apart from these ones. So let's go to the furthest one, which is 0.02. Broken system. Oh, we definitely need to go there then. Let's go have a look at a broken system. Let's see what happens. It is glitched. Okay. I'm just, the only reason I want to go here is not so much to check out a glitch. It's just because the system is on the edge of the nebulosity. So use censored target. There it is. Right, let's engage the FTL. Let's go there. Let's see what happens. About having a towel. So, well, it's important that you know where your towel is. That's quite good. Silver Razor 321. First time chat. Is your ship faster than Star Trek Voyager? Yes, it is. We can get. So if Star Trek Voyager had this ship, we'd be able to get home in about 3 or 4 days. I think. Is that right? Was it? Or was it 2 weeks? Either way. It wasn't too bad, so we could do 300 light years per hour. So Star Trek Voyager would be maybe a couple of episodes max. So yeah, no problem at all. It's worth checking out to see how broken it is. Okay, yeah, maybe somebody. Well, you never know what weird stuff you might find in a procedurally generated universe. You see, this is the other thing. I think you said that last week, wasn't it, Dan? That you don't know what's out there. Planets inside stars and weird stuff like that. Okay, so this could go quite badly wrong, actually, as we approach. But that nebula now looks like the. Look at that. I mean, we're right on the edge of the nebulosity, which is glorious to see. There we are. We actually look. There's a filament there, which is really, really quite close to us. So we're almost in the nebula. So these planets, if they exist, will have a jolly good view, right? Once I have the Roche limits calculated, it will use that as a hard cutoff point for the closest planet to stars. Okay, so you're going to take in that sort of physics as well. Excellent. Okay, so here's the star. I think we just went. Yeah, look, we did go through some nebulosity. That we actually travelled through the nebula there, which is quite nice. So these planets are going to have a really, really, really good view. So. Okay, so there they are. They are there. So this is the sensor target, which is some way off from the main stars. This is the furthest one out. I chose this, what might be the safest planet, right? Okay, so that one is there. Okay, let's turn the ship around. We'll check in one of the closest. But look at the view. I mean, actually, what I'd like to do. Let's go to the terminator of this planet, and just get that backdrop view, because that looks totally stonking. That does. There's the nebula there in the background as well. And then look at the night sky of this planet here. So let's just go about there. Let's bank ourselves round. I'm going to spend all my time in this game just getting screenshots, I can tell. And the nice thing is because you've got this drive system, which is infinitely versatile and moving around and quite intuitive. Is we can just tweak our velocity around a bit. Michael Straczynski, ships travel as fast as needed for the plot. Very, very true. let's just move ourselves a little bit faster forward. There we go. And then slow down a bit, not too fast, ship. That's it. There we go. So I don't think this planet's, if it's got an atmosphere, it's very, very thin. So there we go. Look, as we creep across the, so that Tsuzuchi, I don't know how you pronounce that. The stars in the skybox, do they all exist? They are all procedurally generated stars at this point. The plan, I believe, is to include all the known stars. So the ones you can see from Earth in the in space. So when you're at Earth, you will see realistic sets of stars and constellations and stuff. But the further you go into the galaxy, beyond what is actually known, we will it'll be procedurally generated based on what we think is supposed to be out there. So so that K-class star there is arguably not a real star, because we're several thousand light years away from Earth at this point in time. But it is every star you can see in the backdrop is a place you can go to in the game, if that makes sense. I hope does that answer the question? Hopefully it does. And then we've actually made an eclipse, which is quite nice. So if I pull the ship up at that angle, we should be able to get the sun, or the star should I say, because it isn't the sun, is it, to rise above the terminator. There it goes. Boom. Look at that. So you can make sunrises and sunsets and all sorts of stuff along with that amazing background. Okay, so back into the ship. And you can experience, now this is the other thing that we did last week. Let me go back out to the ship. So let us stop the ship again. This is the thing that I really, really, really enjoyed. Is let's turn, there's the backdrop of the ship. Now this particular ship, the Magellan Class, has two places where you can go and watch things. Now there is a kind of garden there that you can see at the front of the ship. But more importantly, there's a space bar at the back of the ship, which is by far my favourite feature of the ship. So let me just go and show you that. We're looking into the star a little bit there, so there's a glare. But let's go to the back of the ship, which is down here, or the back of the top deck, actually, to be more accurate. And when we look at, actually, we're getting a lot of glare because, of course, where we are. So what's happening here is good as well. We're getting quite a lot of glare from the system because the hull is illuminated. So although we've got a nice nebulosity background, actually I may need to rotate the ship around to get the best effect on that. Let me go do that. So apologies while I spend a lot of time getting the ship orientation exactly how I want it. But this is one of the things that's so compelling about this sort of gameplay, is that you can spend an awful lot of time just getting the ship to the place where you want it to be. Okay, so the sun is the star, should I say? I mustn't call it the sun. Is above us. So let us roll the ship, which is going to be E. Yeah. There we go. So that we're actually orientated the other way up. So the top part of the ship is now in darkness, which should help our view. So back into the ship. There we go now. So the top part of the hull is now shielded from the glare of the star by the ship itself. So what we can do is now go to the space bar, which is down this really nice set of stairs here. There's the space bar, where there are even beers and wines and all sorts of things. There needs to be a teapot, I feel. But there we go. We can look out to the back of the ship, and there is the amazing space that we've been travelling through, right? It's just like, it's there outside the windows, which is just, I just love that. I absolutely adore that. Yeah. Imagine in the future being able to see the Crab Nebula just sort of sitting there doing its thing, or a pulsar or a neutron star, or just the Horsehead Nebula, or the Pillars of Creation, or something like that. Just the mind boggles. Just being able to go there and look out at it. That's, I think, is insane, because One of the things that Dan has done with the design of the ship, which is amazing, is given you the ability to look out and enjoy the spectacle of space from inside the ship, which I think is a crucially brilliant piece of the spaceship design. So that's really, really good. Let's go and have a look at those planets then. The ones that are really close in, because clearly something a bit weird was going on there. Let's have a look at what's going on. Okay, so let's go and choose one that's a bit closer. Let's choose the second one out because reasons. Send to helm. It's a very elegant control system, actually. I can imagine playing with this with a bunch of you guys as well, so I think it's going to be great fun. Use the sensor target. Okay, and engage. That should take us towards the star. So let's see whether anything weird is happening. So there's the planet that we were at going past. We're getting quite close to the star here. I don't think it is bugged. I just think it's like, oh, actually maybe it is. Oh goodness me. It's a seriously close orbit that we're in there. Okay, somebody probably already told you minor skills first time chat. You can use Alt-1 to teleport back to the bridge instantly. Okay, so this is a seriously close orbit, isn't it? I'm not sure that's actually an entirely possible orbit, but is that another planet that we're seeing through the planet there? So that might be a bug, but that is definitely quite a close orbit. I would say we are very much inside the atmosphere of the sun there. M-class stars are so cold it gets a bit over-enthusiastic when placing planets close to the star, right? It's Leaf Ryan Drew. So yeah, I love the way it's animated though. So that's pretty cool. I'm guessing it's, cool obviously being a relative term, but yeah. So let's polarize. Oh yeah, I can polarize the window actually. So yeah, so this view now. Good point. Somebody mentioned that polarized window. There's a control over here somewhere, which I can't see because it's it's so bright. I can't actually see the control. I know it's over here somewhere, isn't it? But I can't actually see it. Is it here? I've got a feeling it's like I think it's there. I can't see it. It is there. It's just I can't actually make it out. I might have to turn the ship. Yeah, before the shields collapse. Let's roll left. There we are. I think enough of the ship is in shadow now that I can polarize the windows. There we go. There's the control. It was so bright I couldn't see it. So we can switch the polarization on, and that will darken down the exterior view for us, so we can see out, which is quite nice. So now we can look at objects. Can I still steer the ship? Oh, I can. Excellent. Okay, so now if I bank us round, we can kind of get a feel for what's actually happening here. So that's how. That is how close we are to the star. And you can see the way the star is being generated there. That looks like that does look weird, doesn't it? But yeah, so this is an insanely close orbit. We first time chat and Nick, we need alert modes that auto close the shutters. I think that would be a good idea if the sort of solar flux or the light level or whatever it is that gets so high that the polarizer filters should come on automatically. Otherwise, everyone would be blind, wouldn't they? So that's actually a lava world. So I suppose it should be molten totally hot. So when we go to the external view, of course, it goes back to the unpolarized view. So a lava world. So that's quite nice. you know, it ought to be insanely hot. And these other ones are in quite close orbit. So there are some others. Let's have a quick look around. Back over. I could spend my entire, spend my entire time just mucking about with. Okay, well, let's try a different planet then. Let's try that one. Sinterhelm. Let's go there. Use sensor target. Engage FTL. Engage. Where's it going to take us? It's a magical mystery tour, really, isn't it? It's taking us through the star. Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, there was a planet inside the star there. Oh, look, there's a lava world. Okay, so we've arrived at a planet that's a little bit more in the safely orbit. So, okay, so that was quite an interesting trip. That's exactly the sort of thing that Han Solo warned us about, wasn't it? Yeah, you fly too close to a star, fly through a supernova, and your trip real quick. And it might have done. I love that. Look at that lava world in the background there. That one looks really good. So there's we can't hold that against Dan. There's clearly a little bit of work to be done with it in regards to that. But you get the idea. I mean, imagine finding a bunch of worlds like this, and exploring these solar systems. Just wow. So let's see if we can get to the back side of that planet, because that looks really quite cool. So that's with the polarization switched on. There we go. Right, so engage FT. I'm going to fly this manually now. Good luck, everybody. Are we moving? Speed is... I'm guessing the velocity is a sort of exponential kind of effect as well. Bugs of character building, yeah. that looked quite amazing, actually, I must admit. Not possibly the desired effect, but still pretty cool. Those almost look like a moon. I know I noticed there weren't any moons in it, but those are just two planets that happen to be close by. But this lava world looks really rather nice, so let's park at the back of that. It's super hard exponential because 0 to 100% is mapped. Yeah, so 30 kilometers a second to 2.6. I was going to say I was thinking to myself that has to be exponential, because otherwise it doesn't. You'd never get the increments right. So we're coming in to that lava world now. It's going to look better with the polarization filters off. So at 15% throttle, we're relatively small. So what? That's another experiment to do. Actually, is what field power is required to get to light speed. There we go. Let's switch the engines off. So it's actually really quite responsive, this thing. So let's disengage that for a moment. There we go. Go back outside the ship again. So okay, look at that. So a nice lava world. Look at that. There's the planet that we were at, I think, over there. Doesn't that look amazing? Just a minute. I'm going to put my sunglasses on. The ship decelerates really fast. So 30% is fast around the star, 10% is fast around the planet. Okay, so there's some quite nice. I suppose as you get used to flying the ship, you'll get used to the speed. Or star glasses, not sunglasses. Yeah, good point. That looks really nice, doesn't it? Let's switch that on again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15%. There we go. That looks really good. A lava-y world. My tan is working out great here. Yeah, so all kind of lava-y sort of places around here. Looks really, really nice. Just sort of cruising past like that. Whoa, imagine what the surface of that planet looks like. And there's that other one, look over there. Looks like it's been consumed by the star, which is Really nice. Oh. So you've got. So I suppose question for Dan then. You've got a bunch of different star classes and planet types in there. So what other sort of stellar objects have you got? We've seen the black hole. Have you got anything else weirdly exotic in here at the moment, or is that all to come? The type of planet is determined by the temperature, which is calculated from the distance from the star, which makes sense. The star's temperature and its radius, and the planet's Bond albedo. Okay, that's the amount of energy it's going to receive from the based on the nature of its reflectivity, I suppose, how much it's going to absorb. I really do like that. Now, here's the other thing that I really like as well. So we're going to go to high speed warp. Okay, with the nebula behind us. I'm going to whack up the O-class stars, the most exotic so far. Okay, so the blue nebulas. Okay, so let's get out into interstellar space. Let's go and see if we can do that. Okay, so I'm going to jump up from my chair here. Let's go back to the. Let's turn the polarization filters off again, so we can see space. Now, if I go to the back of the ship here, I'm going to quickly get there. We can watch the star system that we just left receding on the viewer here by looking at the back of the ship. There it goes. Yeah, it's getting darker and darker and darker. I'm not sure what speed we're doing actually. We might not be going fast enough to see the nebula move. I don't think we are. Let's take the ship to maximum velocity. Okay, so OBA, Fine Girl and Kiss Me, yeah, are the star systems in the game currently. Planet types are all the Sudarsky scale gas giants, ice giants, lava worlds, rocky with and without atmosphere, ice planets, Earth-likes and water worlds. The warp effect is nice, isn't it? It's subtle, but it's very place. Okay, we're in at 30%, so let's go to max. Okay, so there we are, 30% power. It's 15 times the speed of light. When you go to max, it accelerates up to 2.6 million times the speed of light, which is pretty darn quick. Shows you actually how slow light speed is, right? It's nowhere near fast enough. Light speed is no use at all in exploring the galaxy. Right, we're now travelling at maximum power. Okay, so at this point the nebula is going to be, there you go, you can see the nebula is contracting behind us. I don't know why this is minor skills, but Bavgikim sounds like a fantastic slur. It does, doesn't it? So what's Julie said? Okay, LTY. So what's LTY? So O is like really hot stars, isn't it? Then it gets down to G, which is Earth-like, well, not Earth-like, but our Sun-type stars. K and M are sort of red dwarf stars. So what's LTY? Oh, rogue planets in interstellar space. That sounds cool as well. I should know what LTY are. Okay, so LTY are brown dwarfs. Right, okay. Oh, brown dwarfs, so they're sort of substellar things. Okay, that's quite cool. So now we're in interstellar space, but the nebula is receding behind us. And what I love there, can you see that star up there? It's kind of in the middle of the stream, about there. Actually, I'm going to point to it. There, that one. Just slowly, the parallax effect, slowly moving it past the window. Oh, it's just glorious. This is why I think it's better than Elite Dangerous for exploration, or at least it's got the potential to be. Because you don't just jump using hyperspace and then the background changes as you move, which is quite nice. This, you actually move through the actual three-dimensional space, so you can actually see it rolling past the windows, which I just think is a glorious way to do space. I really, really like that. Now, can we see a blue nebula? Because that's one of the things we haven't seen. Let's go and have a look. While I'm looking at that, actually, Dan, when is the Kickstarter due? What sort of lead time are you thinking about for running the Kickstarter and sort of expanding the game? What sort of... So look at the galaxy there. That's the nebula we've been exploring. We're travelling at maximum speed. You can see stars moving past us. The nebula is very slowly retreating into the background. I don't know if I can see a blue one here. I don't even know which direction we're heading, of course, because we're just sort of randomly heading out into space. Because the entire galaxy exists and all the space in between stars, we can put anything anywhere. Okay, so end of June, beginning of July for the Kickstarter. Okay, so that's something to set your calendars for, everybody. Keep an eye on that one. Just trying to... We may have to switch the engine off, because it's quite hard to spot a blue nebula with all the warp effect going past. How fast is maximum speed? First time chat. It's 300 light years per second, I think I'm right in saying. So it's fast enough to get across. Yeah, so 300 light years per second is 2.6 million times the speed of light. I would chill in the captain's room. So 300 light years. Sorry, it's 300 light years per hour. Sorry. Okay, that's how fast we'll get. Which means that the galaxy is traversable in about, was it 2 weeks? There is a blue nebula visible from Sol if you head back to Earth. Okay, we can do that. How do I head back to Earth? Okay, so 2 weeks edge to edge. There we go. So that tells you how. So that's how fast you can get across the galaxy. But obviously, if you want to stop and explore stuff, press home on your keyboard. Has that reset the? Press home on. Oh, home on the. Oh, on. Which keyboard? On the. Okay, is that what I've done? Okay, so use sensor target. No, I don't want to use sensor target. Home. So clear target. We're 200 light years. So we'll actually engage autopilot. There we go. Okay, so that's banking the ship around, but we're quite low there. The target Earth is we're like 40 minutes away from Earth. So we're probably not going to get there in time. Okay, it is set. Okay, there's the nebula we were exploring. And you see the sensor target's locked on there. Now we'll keep an eye out for a blue nebula and see. Okay, so we can see the light years counting down to Earth. We're quite a long time. If you quit and start a new game, you'll be at Earth. That's a good point. Actually, we could just do that, couldn't we? Because it doesn't really matter. Have to go again next week. Let's do that. So quit to main menu and start a new mission. Oh no! We totally destroyed the ship. Let's go back and see if we can go and have a look at a blue nebula. We might need to do a bit of blue nebula exploration next week then, in that case. There's the bridge. Okay, so we're now back at Earth, which is quite nice. So there's the Earth. So let us sit down at the helm control. And I do remember there was one visible from here, wasn't there? Can we see it? It's possibly a bit bright, so let's move away from the sun. All those experiences, yeah, I know. They're leaving the Earth behind. There's the blue nebula there, look. It was behind the Earth, the sneaky planet. There we go. I don't know how far away this nebula is, of course, so let's go and visit the blue nebula. Here we go. Right, we will ramp that up to maximum FTL. We don't know how long it will take us to get there because we don't know how far away it is. So we're going to maximum power. There's our solar system on the starboard bow. Whoosh! Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, even Pluto. It doesn't take long to, as we accelerate at a really, really crazy velocity. There's our solar system disappearing behind us. We've gone past where Voyager's got to, like in about 15 seconds. And then the stars start moving. So there's Alpha Centauri on the starboard bow, drifting past the viewer, which is quite nice. So I'm not quite heading in the right direction there. There we go. Which I just love the way that the real things are there. So that blue nebula is an example. Minor skills. Ta-da! Somebody had to do it. So that blue nebula is an example of a procedurally spawned open cluster, which is a star-forming region. Okay, so it's sort of what kind of like the Pleiades. Is it that sort of environment? O-type stars, I think the Pleiades are. It'll only spawn the open clusters in the galactic regions in the thin disk. Okay, so are you planning to put kind of the Messier catalogues and the NGC catalogues and things like that in the game? Because I mean, for something like this, I would spend all my time going to visit places like that, like take a trip out to a globular cluster or the Pleiades or all those sort of things. So eventually the things are coming as well. Oh, it's just so exciting. That'd be awesome. Okay, so I'm not sure how long it's going to take us to get to this nebula, but we've set our target towards it. For those of you who haven't seen, every star needs a t-shirt stand, yeah, so it can basically, yes, been seen there. Just imagine doing an astronomy tour aboard. You could just, I would just use this ship as a astronomical sightseeing machine. Obviously there's going to be other steps. So when you're in the captain's ready room, of course, which is this. So there you go. Look, you stand at the captain's window and you can see space going past the window. It's my overly ambitious goal is for this to be the most accurate virtual galaxy in gaming. It will also include the 2 Magellanic Clouds, nice, which will represent the furthest distant stars will be generated. Okay, so will it? How far are the Magellanic Clouds from our galaxy? So if I don't know, actually, they're quite a long way, aren't they? So I'm just curious, actually. Would it be possible to do the intergalactic space? They are far away, so they're proper distance, aren't they? I suppose it's just a question of, so about 70 to 80 kilolight years from Sag A. So we do want it to. Okay, Claire. So we do want it to be used for education purposes. I think that's a staggering idea, because one of the things that I've noticed. When I was a kid, just on this particular education topic, when I was a kid, I used to absolutely adore going to planetariums. Who went to the original London Planetarium before they closed it down? The one that used to be next to Madame Tussauds. I remember going to see that as a kid in the 70s. And it had the old Zeiss projector, not the computer generated ones they use today, but a proper old optical projector. And I remember just being utterly spellbound by whatever the show was. The beautiful old Zeiss projector and all that sort of stuff. The ant machine, that's the one, yeah. The one that looked like a kind of big mechanical ant. It generated some amazing views. Now, I remember being totally entranced by that as a child. But what I've noticed over the years is that planetarium shows have become a lot more, I suppose, whiz-bang than they were back in the 70s. And part of that is just, technology allows you to change things and various other bits and pieces. But having seen how, I suppose nowadays, we've got iPads and we've got iPhones and we've got TV shows and amazing CGI and computer games and stuff. So something like a planetarium no longer wows people in the same way that they used to. And as a result of that, I think, they just aren't as spectacular. They don't have the impact that they maybe did on my generation of people. So having something like this as an educational possibility, that not only can you kind of get the majesty of space, but you can get some sense of the scale and the perspective. And if you just want to go and have a look at a particular thing, you can go and have a look. And I think being able to pick up some actual astronomical knowledge from the game as you go through it would be an immense thing to achieve. So I could imagine giving tours with my astronomy hat on in a game such as this. So we're just going to go and visit the Pleiades. By the way, the Pleiades are. And you can have virtual people along for the ride. Everyone could have their own avatar, couldn't they? And if you stand on the right-hand side of the ship, look out the windows, you'll notice Alpha Centauri. Now, Alpha Centauri, I can imagine doing that. Dan says you'll be able to fly away from the Milky Way and keep flying in the nothingness of intergalactic space. But the distant galaxies will only be a skybox. Okay, so it would take you, even at the crazy speeds we are going, the Andromeda Galaxy would be a ridiculously long distance travel away. So that's probably sensible to make sense. So the Andromeda Galaxy is 765 kiloparsecs from Earth, and the Large Magellan is about 50 kiloparsecs away. Okay. For those of you who didn't know, the big London Planetarium, the famous one, closed down a long time ago, 2010. It's now part of the. It's just used for comic book stuff, which is all fine in itself, but it's a shame because that was quite an iconic planetarium. There is still a London Planetarium, but it's over at Greenwich, and they use the modern digital projectors, which to me, I suppose, as an older type of person, have lost the charm of the original optical ones. The Zeiss projectors, for those of you who ever saw them, they generated pinpoint sharp images of the night sky on the inside of the domes. They were really, really, because they were analog devices, right? So they were focusing actual beams of light, so they were pinpoint sharp. Whereas the projectors, they're all electronic, of course, digital things nowadays. They're far more versatile than what they can show, clearly, but they don't have the pinpoint depth precision of the old analog ones. And so the night sky that you see with those digital projectors is, in my humble opinion, nowhere near as high quality as the stuff that we used to see in the 70s and 80s with the old Zeiss analog projectors. The only place that I'm aware of in the UK that you can go and see the one of the Zeiss projectors still running is, and there may be others, this is the only one I know of, which is not very far away from me, is the South Downs Planetarium, which is the one that Patrick Moore set up. And is that Chichester? That might be the one. I think it might be the same one. Anyway, it's the South Downs Planetarium. I'm not sure if that's Chichester. It might well be Chichester. It's down near Bognor Regis, that sort of way. Is that Chichester? I'm not very good on my geography. Anyway, that one, I think it's the same one. That one has got an old Zeiss projector in it, and it looks just amazing. Okay, so if you ever get the chance and you want to see a classic old school planetarium projector and you're in the UK, get yourself down there. Because they look like Imperial interrogation droids or depth chargers. They're an amazing piece of kit, but they generate a really, 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 really good night sky. Pretend one, much better than the digital projectors do. I think. So there you go. That's a total aside. I love those Zeiss projectors. The Griffith Observatory in Los Angeles, I think their planetarium has an old analog projector. They for the purposes of generating a night sky, way better, I think. So this nebula is looking rather good, actually. Let's have a look outside. Oh, we can't from there. We need to jump into the chair again, don't we? So we are travelling towards this nebula. So we're a long way away from Earth now. We're still seeing some of these stars here, actually kind of proper ones, HIP, they're actual local stars not far away from us that have actually been mapped. Orkney, it's like the sound of LPs over WAV files. Yeah, so there's something to be said for analog, right? Still, even today. Dan says, we're lucky where we live on the edge of Exmoor that we can regularly see the Milky Way with the naked eye. And it's funny, having built the galaxy in the game, I looked up and saw our starry sky as 3D for the first time in my life. Yeah, it is. It's weird, isn't it? Because when you look up into space from the Earth, of course, the star backdrop appears static. It's very hard to get a sense of depth to it because it's effectively just an infinite distance from us, isn't it? Whereas games like this, and Space Engine is the other one that does it. You can get a sense of travelling through space and how it's just a bunch of small dots in a three-dimensional structure, which is fascinating. So we are going to approach this nebula. It's nice, and so this one is procedurally generated. So the other one was a test nebula that wasn't procedurally generated. I think I'm right in saying. I don't know where it was, but I don't think we can see it from here anymore. I like the way the stars over there look more dense, actually. So let's just jump up from the control. Look out the starboard side of the ship. That cabin doesn't exist yet. Let's look out the side of the conference room then. Yeah, see, so you've got a nice over there. It looks really dense and full of stars. Okay, so it's procedurally placed, but the 3D noise texture is static. Okay, so in the future, the 3D structure and colour will be entirely procedural. Okay, nice. Okay, so I just looked it up. The Griffith Observatory does have a Zeiss star projector. Okay, so Glenn, if that's your local one, that's make sure you keep it going. That's important stuff. The Zeiss projectors are properly, seriously old bits of kit now, but you can turn the skybox off. Okay, so you can just literally see the actual generated stars. My God, it is full of stars. Real stars. Yeah. I love the way they're slowly drifting past us there. That's just such a nice effect. While you're having your important conversations about stuff in the conference room. So it looks like we've got another nebula to explore next week. We are closing in on it, so we've got a few minutes just to enjoy the spectacle of heading towards the nebula. There we go. We've left the known stars behind us now. We're proceeding. Look at the structure that's beginning to appear in that nebula. That's really nice. Okay, I think they also have a digital projector. The digital projectors allow you to, project movies and all sorts of other clever things. There's definitely a place for the digital projectors. It's just for the pure, visual representation of the night sky. I don't think you can beat the analog ones. So in the same game, in the game options, you can turn off the static background, the faint NASA skybox. I added it to give a bit of visual depth. Okay, once the Galaxy Tech is more robust, I'll be able to delete that. Okay, so the backdrop will be what's actually there, which will be really quite nice. Icon iconoclasm. That's I like that. Apologies if I've already answered, but any demo? I think there is about 2 weeks or so. Okay, so there's a bit more engineering tutorial stuff coming. So the demo is on its way. There's a Kickstarter June, July as well, which is going to be pretty epic as well, I think. So with the view of expanding the team to make this game even more amazing than it already is, as you can see. It's just so thrilling to see some of the stuff that we can do in it, and the progress you've already made so far. I love the way that the nebula is just slowly developing around us. And the engineering stuff, yes. I mean, fiddling about with the ship. So we haven't even touched on that today. We should take a little bit more of we'll go back and have a look at the ship again in a little bit more detail, with the engineering consoles and some of the other bits and pieces. It really seems to be that game that I've always wanted. Yeah, so I mean, the idea of taking a starship and going off into the galaxy and exploring stuff is just so thrilling. Is it generating it? There's a G-class star up there. 9 light years away. So the Nibbler is growing. I know there will be groans here, but I must ask, will it be ported for other platforms, console or Mac? Question mark. Well, it's built on Unity, isn't it? Now, I am no coder, so I don't know what the complexities of that are, but that at least to me suggests the possibility of it being portable. But I'll completely defer to Dan on that one because I have no idea whether that means anything or not. It's Unreal, so not Unity, Unreal. It works on Steam Deck apparently, but in terms of console ports, a distant future. Unreal Engine 5, okay, which is the latest and greatest one, isn't it? Which has a whole bunch of WYSI features. I mean, I've seen a few demos of Unreal Engine 5, and it looks insane. So, yeah, you've definitely built it on a. I think this is one of the things that I fear actually has been part of the downfall of Elite Dangerous, is they built Elite Dangerous on their own proprietary engine, which may have given them a leg up in the past, but I think the cost of maintaining the engine and then therefore the game on top of the engine is what's making Elite Dangerous's development so slow now, because building your own game engine and maintaining it and trying to keep it at the same pace as these kind of commercially available things, it must be a huge amount of effort, and it's probably just not a sustainable thing. So I wonder if that's contributed to the slow pace of what's happened with Elite. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a dev, so that's just being it's just me suppositioning things. But I think if you can leverage somebody else's work, if you can leverage a massive development team of Unreal who are developing their engine for all sorts of different purposes, and what's interesting here is that one of the things of having a proprietary engine, one of the advantages would be is you could make particular types of game, and it's been said that a generic game engine doesn't give you the flexibility to do the sort of things that you need to do, and that may be the case in certain circumstances, I think. But I mean, look what Dan's achieved here. It's a starship flying through a procedurally generated galaxy. That's what we want, right? So I don't know about it. If we can get Claire says if we can get the Kickstarter stretch goals, then we can certainly look at consoles. Okay, so it's a potential possibility. Much as I would love to, photography work is short right now and funds tight, says Sean. I'm going to find a way of getting some money into this because I'm just desperately excited about it. It's worth noting that console ports are expensive, and I think again that's one of the things that Elite has shown, that the console was around. The console version of Elite was around for quite a long time, and now it's been canned, of course, as we all know. So it's one thing to support it, but it's one thing then it's an entirely separate thing to then cut off support at some other point in the future, only a few years later. So you kind of want to be able to commit to it, don't you, properly, and not. And not then pull support later on. The same thing, of course, happened to the Mac version. So I'd be very cautious about supporting multiple platforms because it does seem to be a big drain on resources. So I think that is a problem. We would need dedicated console devs, yes. So Dan says, I personally believe the Cobra engine is why Elite will never have ship interiors. It's just not designed for walking around physics with a moving ship, and that is a problem, isn't it? No Man's Sky also has its own engine, but Murray is an engine guy, so he knows that sort of stuff. So all sorts of troubles, basically, and depending on the things that you decide at the start, of course, that's going to set the tone for what is possible and what's not possible. Based on the foundations you build. So yeah, and I think you've got to stay focused on what you're trying to achieve. And I suppose with Macs, the possibility. I mean, there's ways for the Macs to run Windows so that they can run games on top of their hardware and all those sort of things. And like you say, the Steam Deck will run it as well. So there's options, and I don't think the hardware requirements, at least at this point, are too excessive for this game. compared to some in Star Citizen, for example, makes everybody's PCs melt. Whereas I don't know what sort of PC are you targeting, Dan, as a sort of decent performance for the game? The reason I went with Unreal Engine 5 is because it has all the tools I want to build the visual experience I envisioned. I want space pretties. Yeah, space pretties. You get definitely thumbs up for that one. And then GeForce Now, of course, which should hopefully run for Mac as well. Okay, so because there's lots of options around, just keep it on PC, and then let everybody join that party. That seems to me to be a logical way ahead with this sort of stuff, because you can put all your development effort into the game, the actual game experience, and not worry about some of the technicalities. Okay, so Dan says the minimum spec is around a GTX 980, and on my 2080 Ti I get about 100 to 120 frames per second most of the time. So space pretties is highest priority, definitely. Okay, well that's more than acceptable, isn't it? A 980 is several generations ago now. This console peasant would consider getting a PC for a game like this. Unfortunately, my list of PC-only games is fairly long already, so it would just have to be shuffled into the queue. 980 is a minimum, right? Okay, I'm going to be. Is there a frame rate counter that you can call up on the screen? I mean, I suppose that's probably an option or something, isn't it? Alt F or something. I don't know. I suppose I could do that with NVIDIA as well. But we are approaching the nebula as well. Look at that nebula. It's looking big and glorious. Oh, it's in the game options. So F4. Oh no, not options. Sorry. Yeah. How do I get to the options? Escape. That's right. Settings. Graphics. Display. FPS limit is oh there we are. Show FPS on. There we go. So I can't actually read that, but that looks like it's getting 90 frames, and I think it's about 100 frames per second, which is my monitor is locked at that for refresh reading. So it's but it shouldn't be giving this PC any trouble at all, because I'm lucky enough to have a 4090. So if it was giving that any kind of worries, I think we'd have some problems. But it's clearly not an issue. But so type /console to stat FPS. Okay, so there's those sort of things as well. If you stand in the lounge bar lift at the top of the stairs, that's the heaviest part of the ship. The glass is quite heavy. Okay, that sort of makes sense because you've got transparencies and things, haven't you? And so on and so forth. Glad to hear there are options. It's probably going to be running at the lower settings to get VR. Yes, I mean VR is another thing, isn't it? That nebula is beginning to look really, really, really nice now. And we can enable a couple of features that will really bring that to its knees as well. Okay, excellent. Well, but space pretties. Yeah, I'm completely up with space pretties. Just all the eye candy. That's what we definitely want. Okay, so another nebula for us to explore, I think. Next week, looking at that. I have walked around in VR and it's amazing, but before we can release a VR build, I need to polish it some more. Okay, so that's really good. Transparency and reflection, get those GPU fans blowing. Definitely. That nebula is now beginning to expand outside. I like the way it's really faint from a distance as well, and it gets subtly stronger as you get close to it. Full of the O-type stars and stuff. That is really nice. So what I'm going to do, because I'm out of stream time again, we'll explore the blue nebula next week and just have a poke around in there. Let's shut the ship down. I'm just going to bring it to a halt. There we go. And switch off the drive. There we go. Look at that. That looks insanely good. And then because as with all our space streams, we always go to the bar. Let's put the spaceship, turn it around the other way just so we can have the backdrop there, and then we're going to tilt it up like that so it's visible outside the windows. That's nice. We're going to go and get ourselves a beer from the bar. Drew's Blues, yes. We're gonna have a wander around. Now, actually, one of the things that would be nice here, I mean, it's quite subdued lighting, particularly downstairs. It would be nice to be able to lower the lights just a tad, so you could really, you know, like when you're on an airplane, you think just lower the lights a little bit. I want to have a look outside. Could do with being able to lower the lights down a touch. That would be really nice. But red alert, all lights. Oh, is there an option? Does the disco lighting from the captain's chair apply to the whole ship, or is it just the bridge? There we've got condition normal, yellow alert, red alert, emergency lighting. What is emergency lighting? So that does actually darken it down. It is ship wide. Okay, so we could put the lights. I mean, red alert is, that's not, so actually emergency lighting is quite nice and dark. Let's go for emergency lighting. So now I can't actually see my way around the ship. Okay, so emergency. Oh, this is quite spooky now, isn't it? Okay, yeah, no, it is all the way around the ship. Okay, so the emergency lighting is on. Now we're in the dark. T for a torch, that's right, yeah. Okay. And now, oh yeah, that's nice. Look, so we can, it's like a kind of moody, we just need a bit of kind of jazz music playing now. That'd be perfect. Right, let me go in over here. Let me go and find myself a beer in the dark. There we go. Oh, hang on, I've got to do this right. Pick up the beer at the top. Physics. There we go. It's going to be a very fizzy beer by the time I get it back to my... Let's put it in front of over there a little bit because it does tend to... Oh. No. I want my beer to stand up. Yes, there we go. Right, there's the chair. And the beer's in front of me. There we go. And then we... Ta-da! It always amuses me, says Julia, when the game's called a flashlight a torch. When you say torch, I think of a stick with actual fire on the end. Yeah, so I think torch is a UK-ism, whereas a flashlight's more of an Americanism. I've always called them torches, even though clearly they're not on fire. But there we go. So look, we can just hang out at the back here. Here's my space beer. There's a plant. Oh, there's a pot plant which I can actually. Let's just put the pot plant. Oh, it's knocked my beer off the table. Oh well. And we can stare at the nebula that we just travelled across the galaxy to go and see. So. Oh, just awesomely awesome. So, my friends, we will call it a night there. We will do a bit of it. We will eat the plant. All back to normal. I've knocked the beer on the floor. We will we'll explore the Blue Nebula next week. See what what wonders are in store in the Blue Nebula. And carry on from there. But thank you ever so much for your company again once again. I hope you enjoyed the stream. Thank you to Dan and Claire for what is an amazing game and so much thoughtfulness and spending their evenings coming and chatting to us and telling us all about stuff. So thank you very much for that, guys. Really, really appreciate that. What an amazing thing! What an amazing thing! Really, really exciting to play and just do that. And looking forward to seeing your reactions to the O-Class style. Ooh. I can't wait. Hurry up for next week. It's going to be good. Back with some Star Citizen tomorrow. Back with Star Wars X-Wing, of course, on Saturday. And I think my Monday stream is back in operation on Monday. I'm hoping so, but I know I'm going to something in the afternoon on Monday, so I'll do my best. Yes, because I know I've been neglecting that one a bit recently because of stuff. Real life keeps getting in the way. But There'll always be more voyages. There'll always be more voyages. Thanks again to everybody who's joined in. Thanks to Dan and Claire. Thanks to you all for watching and doing space stuff with me in space, which has been great fun. So thanks very much. See you soon. See you tomorrow. See you on Saturday, and see you next week, space game fans. Thank you very much. Look after yourselves, and see you out there in the galaxy.